Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a dominant team in the Open Grey League that a trainer used to climb up to 3470 ELO and #1 in the world on the global leaderboards. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Dr. Roast Beef, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, the team that Dr. Roast Beef used to gain all of this ELO is as follows: Shadow Marowak, Dugong, and Carbink. So a team that is ABA weak to water, but he's able to make it work. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at the team in action. Leading Marowak into Dragonair in the first match, we see a save switch out after one Mud Slap into the Dugong, and Dugong is met with a non-shadow for Alligator. So this is honestly great. This is where he wants to see for Alligator on the team. Marowak, of course, can 2-shield through a Shadow for Alligator, but the non-Shadow has enough bulk to withstand the Mud Slaps and make it to a third Hydro. Speaking of Hydro Cannons, the opponent not running Crunch forced to go for the resisted Hydro Cannons. Dugong does not see that as a problem, able to shake off that damage and make it to a Drill Run. Drill Run connects, down goes for Alligator, in comes a Alolan Sandslash looking for a farm down. Dugong makes the Drill Run, but is going for a bait. I honestly love this play because now you reduce the damage outputs, you can bring in the Marowak and actually no-shield. In comes the Marowak. Marowak absolutely going to be no-shielding here as the opponent fires off the Ice Punch. There's a switch into Dragonair, and Dragonair will be answered with the Carbink. Carbink just going to look for a massive rock throw farm down as Dragonair is going to be spamming out super effective Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail number 1 followed by Aqua Tail number 2. The opponent may even be able to make a third here as they do have quite a lot of residual energy and they get there. Honestly, do you just save shields for Marowak at this point? Yes, he's fully sacrificing the Carbink. In comes the Marowak, it gets the farm down, and the Sandslash just can't do enough damage. The opponent's only hope is that they can somehow survive a Bone Club, but they can't. Marowak gets the farm down and takes a win with both shields remaining. We move to the next match, and it's a tricky lead for Dr. Roast Beef, leading the Shadow Marowak into Talonflame. Talonflame does have the pacing advantage, gonna strike first. This could be a Brave Bird, so Dr. Roast Beef is going to commit the shield. It's gonna be the Fly opponent, save switches into Chestnut, and this is a Pokemon that this team is actually triple weak to. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely disastrous. The shield from the Dugong as the Frenzy Plant comes through. Dugong gonna look to apply a debuff with an Icy Wind as the opponent now has the choice to make. They're gonna shield up, they are protecting the Chestnut with the perfect overfarm, and this Frenzy Plant, even debuffed, will be enough to secure the knockout onto the Dugong. But Dugong did its job, it got the Chestnut very, very low. And there's a lot of energy on the Marowak. In comes the Marowak, just going to fire off the Bone Club. This is resisted, but the Chestnut is taking too much damage. Chestnut shields, but the Marowak has another move. So the Marowak able to actually KO the Chestnut here. And is the opponent going to bring in the Talonflame? Yes. Talonflame answered with the Carbink in the back is more Pekko. And this is just a win. Carbink is going to be able to sweep the endgame. Aura Wheel Electric is going to do massive damage there, but the Carbink able to shake off that damage, fire off this Power Gem. Power Gem should be enough to knock out Morpeko, and it does not! The Morpeko surviving on 1 HP, but it only gets the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs will not KO. In comes the Talonflame, and these rock throws are just shredding the opponent. Talonflame is forced to fire off energy. Brave Bird KOs the Carbink, but in comes the Marowak to Mud Slap down and take the win. Moving to the next match, terrible lead, Shadow Marowak for Shadow Drifblim. Dugong save switch answered with a Magnezone. Magnezone switched fast enough that it will get to the Wild Charge as Dugong makes it to its move. Dugong lets it through, calling the bait, and will now be able to force a shield advantage out of this mid-game. Baiting with the Icy Wind, getting the shield from the opponent, and this forces the opponent to throw another Mirror Shot. So Dr. Roast Beef able to generate an advantage out of the mid-game. That's a Wild Charge, and now Dr. Roast Beef is going to look for the knockout blow here with the Drill Run. Drill Run is shielded, so Magnezone maintains switch, but it's debuffed, which means one Mud Slap KOs it from half HP. Drifblim answered with the Carbink in the back. It's going to be Drapion. Drapion going to be spamming out Aqua Tails, but the Carbink more than happy to absorb this damage. Carbink continuing the farm. Opponent is going to overfarm ever so slightly here. Carbink has to decide when to use the shield. Not going to use it here. Going to go for the harder hitting Moonblast, looking to try and pick up a knockout. The Moonblast does secure the knockout. Back in comes the Drifblim. The Shadow Astonish is adding up quite a bit. Carbink gets farmed all the way down, and this could be disaster, but the Marowak is so healthy. Marowak is going to let it through. Icy Wind will not KO, and the Marowak gets to the Rock Slide. So despite some pretty tough alignment throughout the course of the game, Dr. Roast Beef able to fight back and take the win. We've got a great matchup here, Dr. Roast Beef versus the world champion, Yakai. Yakai is going to save switch into Drifblim, and Drifblim will be answered with Carbink. Carbink is still going to take a lot of damage from a Shadow Ball. We will see the shield as the Shadow Ball comes through from the Drifblim, and now we're going to see, almost a full farm down, but the Shadow Drifblim, what a beast, able to hang on and make it to the Icy Wind, and does some serious damage to the Carbink. In the back is Azumarill, and Azumarill is another Pokemon that this team is pretty soft to. Unfortunately for Carbink, its damage is just not what you would want due to the debuff. We're going to see a pivot out into the Dugong, saving that move for later, and now Dugong with the energy advantage gets the Icy Wind and applies some damage to Ariados. This is going to be a very tricky endgame. The Azumarill has quite a bit of energy. Trailblaze fired by the Ariados. Ariados trying to get to another move and does get there. Ariados firing off another Trailblaze. Trailblaze into the Dugong will not KO. The Dugong barely able to hang on. And we are going to see a 0 bubble here from the Dugong. Icy Wind not going to knock out. Back in comes the Carbink. We're going to see a switch out from the opponent into the Azumarill. Azumarill is going to shield up the Power Gem. In comes the Marowak. Marowak can survive an Ice Beam, but not by much. Marowak is going to be using the shield as Azumarill fires off the Ice Beam. Marowak continues the overfarm at the back-to-back Bone Clubs, but this is a CMP tie, which means that Marowak has to live an Ice Beam if it wants this damage. This is going to be very close. Azumarill, Ice Beam into the Marowak. Marowak barely hangs on. Marowak with a fraction of HP, making it to the Bone Club. Bone Club connects, unable to switch out. Back in comes the Carbink. Can Carbink farm down? No, it cannot. And Yakai, the world champion, emerges victorious there, thanks to that clutch survive from his Azumarill. We move to the next match, Shadow Marowak versus Wigglytuff. Where there's Wigglytuff, there's probably going to be Mud Slap somewhere in the back. And considering there's a Carbink at the back of this team, that would actually be problematic. Bone Club shielded up by the Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is going to go for an Icy Wind, but Dr. Roast Beef says no as he catches that Icy Wind where it's double resisted onto Dugong. Out comes Gastrodon, and this is probably going to be the Wigglytuff double Mud Slap team. And in that case, it's going to be very tough. This is going to be a very uphill battle, considering there's a Carbink in the back. Gastrodon is going to play to the CMP tie. We're going to see a shield from the Dugong. Dr. Roast Beef understanding that if there's Mud Slappers, then this Dugong needs to put in a tremendous amount of work. The Icy Wind is going to connect. Dugong switch out into the Marowak, and Marowak will be firing off this Bone Club. Bone Club shielded up by the Gastrodon. We're now going to see a switch out. No, it's actually not double Mud Slap. Instead, it's Drifblim in the back, and Carbink actually has a target. So Carbink is now going to apply massive rock throw damage. Opponent will fire off the Shadow Ball, and that does significant damage to the Carbink. Carbink does not want this Drifblim to make any more moves, firing off the Power Gem, knocking out that Drifblim. The Gastrodon is still available for the opponent. They were able to save it from earlier. We're going to see the Wigglytuff re-enter the field of play. Now a switch out into the Gastrodon, and Gastrodon will fire off a move. One shield left for the Carbink. Carbink is going to let it through. Just going to be the Body Slam. We're going to see the switch into the Dugong, and more energy unleashed by the Gastrodon. It's a Body Slam. It's going to get the shield. Dugong would love the farm down, but cannot get there. This Gastrodon had so much energy. Gastrodon makes another Body Slam. Back in comes the Wigglytuff, and Drill Run will be fired by the Dugong. It hits slightly harder than the Icy Wind, and it does just enough to knock out the Wigglytuff and take the win. We move to the next match. Oh my goodness, same lead as last game. Shadow Marowak versus the Wigglytuff. And as we saw last game, there's probably some manner of Mud Slapper in the back. We do see a Diggersby catch from the opponent. So my guess is this could be the opponent having their own Marowak as the third. That's a team I've seen before. Wigglytuff, Diggersby, and then the Mud Slapper. It's pretty similar team to the Wigglytuff double Mud Slapper overall. Dewgong is going to be spamming out these Icy Winds. I believe I actually did see an attack drop. So Icy Wind not doing what it typically would, but this does set up an even better farm down for the Dewgong. Dewgong is going to no-shield the Scorching Sands. This time, no attack drop. Dewgong gets a massive farm down, exiting with so much energy. In comes the Wigglytuff. Immediate debuff applied by this Dewgong. Icy Wind is going to connect. Dewgong trying to get to another Icy Wind, but unable to get there. The opponent will go for the Swift. Swift will not pick up the knockout. Dewgong now going for the harder hitting Drill Run. Drill Run will not KO either. Opponent barely able to hang on, and that's not the Mud Slapper we were expecting. It's Gastrodon instead of the Marowak. Gastrodon will go for the Body Slam, and the unfortunate thing about this matchup is Gastrodon does win the CMP tie over Marowak. Marowak fires off the Bone Club. We will see the shield from the Gastrodon. Gastrodon is going to farm up here, but they don't go for the CMP tie. Instead, they actually let the Marowak make it to the Bone Club and force the final shield. And with no shields to hide behind, this might actually be a winnable game. Dr. Roast Beef is going to fully wait the clock here, bring in the Carbink, and get the catch! Oh my goodness, what a beautiful play there. Absorbing that Earth Power onto the Dewgong, and now it's all up to Carbink. Carbink is going to be able to survive an Earth Power. That catch was absolutely massive. Earth Power lands, Carbink survives, gets the Power Gem. Power Gem will knock out the Gastrodon, and all that's left is only a couple HP left on the Wigglytuff, a few rock throws later, and somehow that game ends in a win. Shadow Marowak versus Shadow Feraligatr. This is a 2-shield win for the Marowak. Marowak can just fully farm down in the 2s. It's absolutely disgusting. Mud Slap is incredibly strong. Watch how this plays out. The opponent, actually going to switch out. They make a nice catch on a Diggersby. The opponent realizing how bad of a matchup that is. Diggersby, however, will immediately pay for that switch in as it's now aligned onto the Dewgong. Dewgong already down a shield, not going to commit the second shield as Scorching Sands will come through. No debuff this time from this Diggersby, so Dewgong is going to fire off another Icy Wind. That Icy Wind is going to deal some pretty significant damage. Dewgong just cannot get the farm down. That's a 1 HP survive from the Diggersby, making another Scorching Sands and getting that Dewgong now into the red health. Opponent gonna send in Talonflame. Oh no. And Talonflame's about to get carvinked. Trainer, I am so sorry. Opponent gets a snipe with Feraligatr, but you just bring in the Marowak and you can just win the game because Talonflame can't do anything to Carbink. Marowak shields up the Hydro Cannon. Marowak farms all the way down, and you just bring in the Carbink. Oh my goodness. He's not bringing it in yet. He's letting the opponent think there's hope. But there's no hope here. They pick up the knockout, hoping Talonflame can sweep, just to get completely walled by a Carbink. In comes the Carbink. Opponent firing off their last second move, but it does not matter. There's nothing they can do. Brave Bird does nothing, and Carbink secures victory. Hopping into the next match, the Shadow Marowak versus Cresselia. This is a Pokemon that this team is triple weak to. However, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Shadow Marowak can actually win the 2s. Shadow Marowak does survive a Grass Knot. It does hit for super effective damage, but that's a move that Marowak can actually hang on. Marowak decides to shield the first, going to fire off the Bone Club. Bone Club into the Cresselia will be no shielded. Honestly, it might be in Cresselia's best interest just to take the shield advantage, because this Bone Club will not KO, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to withstand the damage, fire off the Grass Knot, and for Marowak, I mean, you've already shielded once, you can just farm down and win switch. Opponent going to switch out into Abomasnow, trying for a snipe, but they're unsuccessful, and now they're met with Carbink. Abomasnow has a ton of energy. They're up a shield. They probably don't bait, and they do not as Energy Ball rocks the Carbink. Carbink is going to be hit with a Weather Ball now from the opponent. Carbink going to commit the final shield and is play for alignment. So Carbink exits with energy. If the opponent brings in Cresselia, I don't know if Cresselia can make a move. The Cresselia is pretty low here. It's going to be a Poliwrath in the back as the final Pokemon, and considering that one of your remaining Pokemon is Dewgong, that's not what you're hoping to see. We see a switch out into the Marowak, firing off the Bone Club. Bone Club into the Poliwrath is going to be shielded, and I think this is just impossible, as there's just nothing the Dewgong can do. Dewgong I mean, you have to bring it in, but Poliwrath is just going to shred with the counters. Dr. Roastbeef realizes there's no way to win that game, so he will resign the match. We move to the next match, Marowak versus Quagsire. This is actually a win for Marowak in the one shield, if I'm not mistaken, because even though Mudshots do add up a little bit, it's not enough for an Aqua Tail to actually KO. We will see an early shield from Dr. Roastbeef as he signals his intentions that he wants to try and play out shielded scenarios and let these Mud Slaps add up. The Bone Club will be shielded. Quagsire with the outpace. Will we see the double shield? No, he's going to play to the shield scenario that he wins, which is the one. So that's great matchup knowledge from Dr. Roastbeef. Bone Club is going to be shielded. We now see a switch out into Dugong. Dugong farming up a ton of energy. Quagsire can threaten a Stone Edge. It's non-lethal, but it does a lot of damage. Dugong shields and gets baited with an Aqua Tail. Oh no, this forces Dugong's energy, as Dugong did not want that energy to land. So able to pick up the KO. In comes Wigglytuff. It looks like at the top of the leaderboards, Wigglytuff, a very common pick. Icy Wind into the Wigglytuff is going to reduce that charm damage quite a bit. Wigglytuff can go for the Swift, but a debuffed Swift is just not going to do the damage that the opponent is hoping for. Dugong now going for the harder hitting Drill Run. Nice situational awareness here, understanding that a debuff, less important than just the raw damage. In the back, the opponent has Shadow Drifblim. In comes the Carbink, and the opponent will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, Dr. Roastbeef versus Pato Man. He mentioned in the notes that Pato Man is actually who he got this team from, so I believe this is going to be a full mirror match. We have Marowak versus Marowak. Dr. Roastbeef tries to find out who wins CMP, but Pato instead is going to overfarm. Pato is actually going to fully overfarm to the point where he lets a second Bone Club through. So Pato double shielding, he's just going to go for a full farm down, exit with a ton of energy. In comes the Dugong, and Dugong will now be met with back-to-back Rock Slides. We will see the shield here. The opponent now going to switch out into Carbink. And as I mentioned, this is more than likely going to be the same team. Firing off the Drill Run is going to connect. And now that you got some chip damage, we have the Carbink mirror. But this could get quite tricky because if the opponent has their own Dugong in the back, Dugong versus Dugong is going to take quite a while. The Carbink matchup, I mean, these rock throws are slowly adding up, but they just don't do a ton. You kind of can't shield this because if you shield it, then there could be a combo with the Marowak, and there it is right on cue. Carbink is going to use the shield on the Bone Club. Carbink just going to fire off this power gem, trying to get rid of the Marowak as quickly as it possibly can. Marowak does get KO'd, but the opponent still has their own Carbink, and they still presumably have the Dugong as well. In comes the Carbink, going to get knocked out with the power gem, but the opponent can now bring in their Dugong, but they're going to take a lot of damage from the rock throws. These rock throws will add up over time. Do we see a switch out? No. Just going to take the rock throw damage and trust that that's enough of an advantage to win this game. Now we have Dugong versus Dugong. Honestly, the health here is very, very similar. Going for a Drill Run first, so not going to try for any Icy Wind debuff shenanigans. Instead, just going to try and get the damage. Pato has overfarmed. He's firing off energy. He goes for the Drill Run, and these Dugongs have nearly identical HP. It looks like Dr. Roastbeef's is slightly healthier, though. He is in the yellow. Pato is still in the red. Drill Run secures the knockout, and he's able to get the win in that match of mirror teams. All in all, big congratulations to Dr. Roastbeef. Hitting rank 1 in the world is an amazing accomplishment, and 3470 ELO is honestly pretty mind-boggling, so big congratulations to him. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.